Hey VC, what is up? It is G Money 373 back once again for another video on this beautiful night. I hope you guys are having a good one out there. Hope you guys are glad to be here. I certainly am. Life's beautiful. So, yeah, it's been a while since I've made a video. Very long time, actually. I've made a video here and there, but I just never really got around to uploading them. For whatever reason, I didn't really think they were good enough to be uploaded, or I just kind of forgot to upload them. For, the setup that I have right now, it's kind of hard to upload videos. It takes a while. Sometimes they don't upload the first time around, so I have to go back and upload it a second time, sometimes a third time. It's kind of a pain in the ass. So, I want to get to it more and more. And I do plan on making a bunch of videos tonight just to talk about various albums and things that I've been listening to, because music is a wonderful thing. It is something that is so powerful, something that is so inspirational, and something that can really just add so much value to your life. And it's just a wonderful thing that we have in this world, particularly the abundancy of music. And so yeah, have a lot of things to jump into, a few cool albums. Some of them I bought recently at this record store here in town, and some of them that I've ordered, and I do have a few on the way still as well. So let's jump right into it. Before we jump off tonight, we have Iced Earth, The Glorious Burden as the album that is playing tonight. I hope you guys can see that right there. That is our background music for the night. That is one of my favorite albums of all time. I just love the patriotic vibe that the album has, the patriotic inspiration, the American inspiration. I think it's a brilliant album. I think that artwork is some of the best artwork I've ever seen done by any band, in my humble opinion. So yeah, and then it's got a cool custom label right there that goes along with the album. One of the coolest things is that each side has a custom label. But enough of that, let's get into it. So I've been listening to that album a lot, but another one that I was listening to earlier today is their album, The Crucible of Man, Something Wicked Part 2. This is an album that I think of theirs is kind of disregarded a little bit. It's a little weird. It's a little lacking on the guitar solo side, a little lacking on the riff side. But as far as the album goes, just on a musical basis, I actually think it's a pretty strong album, and it's very well done. The artwork is very well done. The production is very well done. And, I gotta say, I'm actually quite a fan of this. I've become more fond of it the more that I've listened to it. One thing that I would say is that it is probably one of their weaker albums. But for me, Iced Earth, being that they're one of my favorite bands, to kind of, rank their albums is pretty tough. But, honestly, the story on this, the way the album flows, I think it's quite cool. And to have a copy of this on vinyl is very cool. This is kind of a hard one to come across. I ordered this one online, and I don't think they ever reissued this. I think this is an original 2008 pressing that was still in the shrink. Pretty cool. It's got some very cool artwork. You got credits there on the back. It's a cool album, and I think one of the coolest things about it is the artwork, in my humble opinion. You got a picture of the band on the inside, on that gatefold. Yeah, great artwork. Again, not a bad album, but I wouldn't say it's Iced Earth at their best, but still pretty good nonetheless. Next up is Metallica and Justice for All. This is actually one that was kind of a random buy. Believe it or not, as I'm kind of a somewhat new metalhead and new to the kind of music and new to discovering different metal bands, Metallica is one that I have not discovered yet. And I know that's it's kind of funny because they're like the gods of metal. Iron Maiden, Metallica, Judas Priest, those are like the three biggest metal bands of all time. But I gave this one, I pulled the trigger on it. I know a lot of the songs on here, like, Injustice for All, One, I'm sure there's probably a few others on here that I've heard, but I've just never sat down and listened to the album. So yeah, I will come back with a report on this album, what I think about it. What I think is quite clever about this album, given the music on it and how long the songs are, is that they pressed it on 2 vinyl, and they put 2 songs for each side, or about 2 to 3 songs. You got 2 songs that side, 2 songs the other side. So I know it's going to sound pretty damn good when I put this on. I know it's going to have a lot of punch to it, a lot of space to it. On any album, when the grooves are that spaced apart, you know for a fact that the album is going to sound awesome on your turntable. So yeah, man, Metallica, Justice for All, I know I would like it. I feel like I've shown this one before. Not really sure. I think I just did it in my first video, but Pink Floyd, The Wall, just a spectacular album through and through. I think I have shown this before. Was it this copy that I have or the other one I have? I don't know. This is an original pressing. Sounds fantastic. Is in great condition. One thing about this album is that every time I listen to it, the better it gets. The more things I discover about it, it brings out and elicits different emotions inside me. And it's just one of those albums that, you know, you can't really listen to it all the time. It's not one of those albums that you can just do something else and then listen to it at the same time. But when you do sit down and you do listen to it, it's always a special experience. And this is why I probably am showing this one again, because it is one of my favorite albums of all time. And is a very important album in my collection. So yeah, man, Pink Floyd, The Wall, a definite have for any record collector out there. We have Era and their album Drift. This is some more new modern metal. This was released in 2016. And I gotta say, man, Era is one of those bands that you gotta be in the right mood for. Sitting down at night, you know, wanting to do something else, just kind of like space out a little bit, you know. They're not the band to listen to. But when you're in the mood, when you're in a jacked up mood, when you're, you know, wanting to do something intense, like work out, this is some really good stuff to listen to. It's some really good stuff to get you fired up and ready to go. Because these songs on here, man, they're very heavy and they're very full of energy. And this album is great. Looking forward to the new album. Matter of fact, I think they might have dropped it. So I'll probably go and check that out if it's out. But this one and the one that came after this, don't judge me here. I'm not too familiar with the band. But this one and the one that came after this and Augment are all very strong albums. And Era is definitely a fantastic band. You can't deny it. If you're into metal, if you're into modern metal like myself, yeah, man, this is some good stuff right here. Going into some older stuff that isn't metal, but is progressive rock, if you want to put it that way, is Marillion, Clutching at Straws. Lately, I've been on a Marillion kick. I've been really getting into this band because I think their sound is just so brilliant. It's so Genesis inspired, has a little bit of a Pink Floyd inspiration and a little bit of an Alan Parsons inspiration, but at the same time, they've maintained their own style. And that's one thing about this band that I love. And this album, Clutching at Straws, is a beautiful album front to back. Production is fantastic. The songwriting's excellent. The feel that the album brings off is great. It's got that definitive 80s sound to it. You know, it's 80s progressive rock, and here's one thing about 80s progressive rock, you know, like progressive rock, not progressive metal, you know, stuff that is early Genesis inspired and that is early Yes inspired. It's a hit or miss when it comes to the 80s, because a lot of those bands were very burnt out during that time. You know, bands that were very popular in the 70s who were doing that progressive rock thing, by the time that came to the 80s, if they didn't change their sound and their style, they were kind of irrelevant at the time. And their sales plummeted, their popularity plummeted, because the music scene had changed so much in that short decade. And unless they adapted, and many of them did, and many of them did a great job adapting, actually became more popular in the 80s, but a lot of them fell off. But Marillion were one of those bands that kept that prog rock thing going, but did it in a way that made them have relevancy and made them sound like they were fit for their time. And they're still around. I'm talking about mainly this era of Marillion, but they were able to work it in a way that they didn't sound outdated, they weren't so underground, and they weren't heavily disliked by the public, you know? And that's one thing about this album, is that it's pop. At the same time, it's very progressive rock. It's a concept album. The songs, a lot of them flow into each other, and it's just brilliant. I will have to say the first 3 songs on here, Hotel Hobbies, Warm Wet Circles, and That Time of Night, are brilliant. White Russian's great. Torch Song, Sugar Mice, and the last Straw, Happy Ending, is another beautiful song. And you've got that on the inside. Very cool, man. Marillion is a fantastic band. If you're into Genesis, if you're into Yes, if you're into any of that like 70s progressive rock stuff, or just into progressive rock in general, I'd highly suggest you check out Marillion if you haven't heard about them. Alright. The next one we got, and the last one of the vinyl, is an album that I haven't heard from a band that I haven't heard. This was a trigger pull. I know I'm going to like it though, and that is Testament, Titans of Creation. You know, I'm a metalhead, and I'm always looking for new metal bands to get into. And Testament, I've heard a lot of people who have similar musical taste to me in the VC say very good things about this band. I'm going to give a shout out to Mr. Hall of Fame. He had featured this album in one of his videos and said very good things about it, and I'm excited to listen to it. You know, I'm a big guy who's into metal, so Testament is one of those bands, and this is their newest album, which I think is even cooler. It came out last year, and I believe it comes on orange vinyl, and I'm not a huge fan of colored vinyl, in my humble opinion. I think colored vinyl, and it's gotten a little bit better, but it diminishes the sound quality just a little bit. But I did hear Mr. Hall of Fame say very good things about the sound quality of this album, so I'm sure it's going to sound good. So yeah, man, Testament, Titans of Creation. Looking forward to diving into more Testament. They seem like a wonderful band. So yeah, man, looking forward to that. Just getting that sleeve, for the love of God. All right. So outside the room, in the car, I listen to CDs. You can't listen to vinyl. And 2 CDs that I've been heavily jamming out to are Tool's Anima. Honestly, one of my favorite albums of all time. Probably one of my favorite Tool albums. Though it's pretty hard to rank Tool albums just because they only have 5 albums. But I love this album to death. It's just so brilliantly done. It's a great concept album. It's, you know, it's what Tool is, man. It's ascending music, and that's the coolest thing about it. Is that that's what they are. And I believe this album was dedicated to Bill Hicks. You got Bill Hicks right there, and looks like you got Maynard right there. And it sounds great. It sounds great on the stereo speakers in my car. It blasts incredibly great. Stinkfist, Eulogy, 46 and 2, Anima, all the songs, they sound great on here. And I did order something special about this album. It should be coming in the mail here in about the next month. It's not a CD, but you'll see it in a video of mine. Can't wait to get it. So yeah, Anima, fantastic. And another good one is Rush Vapor Trails. This album, you know, there's 2 versions of this album. There's this album version, which is the original mixing, and then they have the remix version, which is the version that I have on vinyl. I'm actually in a debate over which one I think is better. Because if I had to be honest, I like them both. You know, the remix drew out a lot of the instruments. You can hear Neil's drums a lot better. Geddy's voice sounds a lot more clear. You can hear certain things that Alex was doing that you couldn't hear on this mix. It sounds great. But I do like this mix a lot too, even though it's very muddy and it's very distorted. it just has a lot of balls to it. I think that's one of the best things about Vapor Trails in the original mix, is that it's the amount of balls on the album. Yeah, certain things were muddied out. The mixing wasn't the best, but I honestly love this album to death. I think it's a perfect sound. It's that quintessential 2000s, early 2000s sound that I really like. It kind of takes me back to my childhood, hearing all that kind of music. And this is the first Rush album that was released in my lifetime. So to have it and to hear it again is amazing. And I gotta say, not bad. Really sounds good on my stereo. I think people should give this one another shot, whether or not you like the remix or you like the original. So yeah, love this one. And I think that's going to do it for me. Looks like my phone is about to die. I'll be back with a few more videos. So yeah, guys, keep it going. Keep listening to great music. Keep having a good time. Keep doing things that are that'll keep you in a good mood and a good space. And keep finding things that give you meaning in life. All right? You guys take care. God bless. Amen. All right. Goodbye.